house and get her in the night and pick her and take her and runs away with her, and then he goes back the following day and sends some people and says, don't look for that girl, she's with me, I have married her. So it's more or less abduction, but tradition recognizes that as one way of a man marrying a woman.
A woman is not supposed to speak in a gathering or in the presence of men. Because of that tradition, which we so much believe in, you find that even if a woman has a bright idea, this woman cannot come up and say, this is how we can deal with such a situation.
Wlsa has worked on women's rights for the past 20 years, and in all our 20 years of work, we have come to realize that women still remain oppressed and discriminated in various forms, socially, economically, legally. They are discriminated against and they maintain a subordinate status in the country, in Zambia, especially under our customary law.
I also understand that part of Wlsa's work is actually to refer cases to the court, and a case of either sexual violence or just simply gender violence and abuse. Could you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yes, I think that the legal aid and services program of Wlsa is a critical component in that, you know, you go to a community and you talk to people about their rights. And
those days we were even afraid. If my husband have seen me going to the police, maybe he will chase me. Nowadays, no. If he chases me, I know the wrong.
You go to a community and you talk to people about their rights and you tell them if your right has been violated, you must claim it. And how do you claim it? You must go to court. But you know that these are community members who are not very confident, and you know this is a foreign thing to them. Going to court is something they've never done. They may feel intimidated by the court structure, and therefore we began by setting up mobile legal clinics in all the sites that we are working in. Eventually, I think our satisfaction would come in a woman actually going to court herself and representing herself, because then it symbolizes the highest form of empowerment.
How does Wlsa link or make a link between discrimination and abuse against women and the prevalence of HIV and AIDS in Zambia?
A woman's husband dying from HIV and AIDS, that then she's stigmatized and nobody will inherit her, and therefore then she faces so much discrimination in that nobody will really, the husband's family will turn her away, and also she doesn't have a later home to go back to. But the other times you find that it actually starts from poverty-stricken. Today we had the case on the news of a woman who was forced into prostitution by her husband, because I think there was so much poverty in the household, and he said, you know, go and do prostitution. And we have a culture of silence in you know, our tradition teaches us to be quiet about issues that happen to you in your own home. So beyond what they want to do by their husband, sometimes they are forced into prostitution. Sometimes the man himself is going out and sleeping around with so many women, and she cannot first of all confront him or even speak to anybody or suggest that they use safer sex in that home because she knows he's having extramarital affairs. So you find that the linkage is really strong, and sometimes it's abusive men who beat their wives, and we know that with forced sex the risk of HIV infection is higher than a person who's not forced to have sex. So all these issues are really linked.
There are certain things that they can talk about, that are easily, they can communicate and say, I'm having problems in my marriage. There are other things that they cannot easily talk about. For instance, if your husband beats you because you refuse to have sex with him, if your husband beats you because you refuse to have sex with him, they can't say, because they can't tell their mothers, because They cannot get advice from their mothers on how they should have sex with their husbands. It's a taboo. Some mothers have done it.
Sometimes feel very ashamed to disclose that they have been beaten and so on, want to keep it.
Yeah, they want to keep it up to themselves.
And sometimes they fear the families.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That they will be blamed to say you have made your husband to be arrested. So you find that they give excuse to say, let me first consult my father, or let me first consult my uncle. So as the officers, we find it difficult to process such cases to court where the witness is hostile with the victim.
Yes. Actually, that's one of the police officers during the training who actually confessed and said, the way I was treating my wife was not good.
That's
Yes, and also he actually said that he put up a very strong argument on marital rape and said if a woman came to me and said her husband raped her, I think I would detain that man for some time before he actually goes scot-free. She was very adamant on that. So.
Okay. So your sense is that actually the cases are increasing, which means people are coming up and they are reporting more.
Yes, after they have been sensitized.
And that is a good thing.
Yes, a good thing.
It's a good thing. It gives you more work.
Yes, that's the thing.
The methodology, the main method that we use in interacting with the communities at the community level is mostly participatory. And the reason why we use the participatory method is because we want the communities to get involved as much as they can, so that they take ownership of the whole process.
Yes. And then we discuss something on how to care for one another in our community. For example, if someone is mistreated is my neighbor, I have to take the information to the victim support so that they come and help him or her. Then as youths, we didn't know that when our parents are mistreating us, we have to take them to victim support. But when Bachidongo came, we knew our rights and we knew that if our parents are mistreating us, we have to take them to the victim support or police so that they teach them how to treat us.
To improve the work, to make it have greater impact, to extend it perhaps to other areas of need, what does Wlsa need?
In the monitoring visits, we all heard about people crying out for support in the income generating activities or in the economic sphere of their lives. And I think that's one of the things which we need to explore. I think this issue has been coming up for most of the time that we've worked in the communities, that this is support that they would need. And I think this would really help to give greater impact, because I think more women are really scared of walking out of abusive marriages because they don't have any livelihood to support themselves, and so their economic situation is non-existent, and if they left their husband they wouldn't have anywhere to get money to support themselves and their family. So if we could actually tap in on this issue and link to other organizations who would be able to support these women, I think then we would have greater impact and more women would actually feel confident enough to say, I'm leaving this man because I know I'm going to be supported.